So there's this trend on YouTube right now about, I'm hearing a lot of people saying don't buy a house, now's not the time to buy a house. And there's some validity to that, but you know, it's an interesting topic because, to be quite frank with you, right now trying to purchase a home here in Florida is relatively difficult because of inventory is so low. So now here's the thing, I think it's a great thing to purchase a home, but I also don't think that it's the best decision for everybody either. And in this video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover some pros and cons of owning a home versus renting. So in essence, it's kind of a pros and cons video for buying a home here in Florida versus renting. Now here's the thing, you guys, I promise I will not do the typical realtor thing where they use a lot of fluff and they say, oh, you could buy, you should buy, you should buy, because quite frankly, like I said, it's not the best time to buy for everybody. And if you're in that boat right now, you'll understand why renting is better than buying. But if you are in a position to buy and we can find you something, then it's a good thing. But without further ado, here's some pros and cons about renting versus buying. Now, one of the major pros of owning a home is that the fact that it's yours to own. You saved the money, you bought it, it is absolutely yours. If you want to redo the kitchen, you can redo the kitchen. If you want to put a new roof on, you can put a new roof on. If you want to paint the bedrooms purple, by all means, go ahead and do it. So you've actually have this pride of ownership because you actually purchased the house. You can renovate the kitchen and the bathroom or put a pool in, and all of these different things that you do will add value to the home. Now, if you did this when you were renting, you would only be adding value to your landlord, so you wouldn't do that anyway. But by owning a home, a major pro is that it is yours and you can do with it what you want. Now, owning this home, you have to make sure that you have enough cash in reserve. So as an example, your AC unit goes out, you gotta make sure that you have enough money in there to, afford an $8,000 AC bill. The water heater goes out, you gotta make sure that you have enough money in there that you can go ahead and replace those water heaters. So the main con of owning a home is that there is an awful lot of risk associated with it to make sure that you have the cash or the financial ability via credit to take care of some of the items when something goes wrong. On the flip side of the coin, when you rent a house, you're basically paying a service fee. You're paying a fee to go ahead and live there, obviously. And the pro of renting is if something goes wrong, the AC goes wrong or goes out, the water heater goes out, it is the job and the responsibility of the landlord to take care of those items. You as a homeowner or as a renter do not have to take care of those items. Now, I know people will say, well, Chris, landlords are not the best at getting things done quickly, and I completely agree with you. There are some landlords out there that are not the best whatsoever, which is another con of renting. But on the flip side of the coin, you don't have to make sure that you have the $10,000 in the bank to go ahead and get those items fixed, because the burden of responsibility falls on your landlord instead of you as a renter. Now, another pro of owning a home is that it's an investment opportunity and you can make some money via owning a home through the appreciation that happens over time. Now, keep in mind, you guys, this isn't like 2014, 2015 where, you buy a house and then 3 years later, you make $100,000 or $150,000. It's not like that. So it's over time. You own your home 7 to 10 years, there's a good chance that you'll get some appreciation in there. Even a few years, you'll get some appreciation, just maybe not crazy appreciation. Now, a lot of people want to get in the stock market. But the stock market can be extremely scary and extremely overwhelming. Do you get into stocks? You get in mutual funds? Should I hire a stockbroker? Should I get into bonds? All these different aspects. Should I go for high risk? Should I go for low risk? So in essence, purchasing a home is somewhat of a way to dip your toes into this investment world and start to take pride of ownership, start to take something where you can build upon so you can create a better future for yourself. You have to live somewhere, right? So you might as well be investing in where you're living anyway. Now, like I said, it's not like in 3 years you're gonna make $100,000. You might, but you might not. But at least you have a chance of you're investing where you're living, and typically real estate does a pretty good rate of return over time, over a 7 to 10 year time period. So it's usually a pretty good rate of return. Now, on the flip side of the coin, if you rent for 7 to 10 years and after you're done renting, you'll have nothing to show for it. Yes, you built memories there and all that and all those good things, but you don't have anything to show for it. It's not like you can cash out the check. Now, if you rent for those 7 to 10 years, when you're done, you're done. There's really typically nothing to show for it. However, if you owned a home and you invested in that portion of time over 7 to 10 years, you've typically paid off quite a bit of your mortgage that you're going to have equity in it that you can either use to renovate your house, to change it, or you can use it to reinvest something else. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people, how they kind of make it in the world is, or how they build up, and maybe they start off with a 2-bedroom, 2-house townhome that they actually built and they actually have and they own it, and then they start having a couple kids. Well, now they sell it after 7 years and they've made $80,000 on it. Now they can take that $80,000 and invest into a single family home, and this is typically how people build up and start gathering wealth. So here's my caveat. Here's my big caveat that I always explain to people. Real estate, out of any other industry, has created by far the most millionaires. More than the tech industry, more than any other industry out there. It has created by far the most millionaires. However, it has also bankrupted the most people as well. Make no mistake about it, real estate is very, very, very much like gambling. And people try to time the market, they try to do things like this, and I'm telling you, it is not a good thing to play with. You have to know what you're doing, you have to be experienced and looking at market conditions, but owning a home can be the single best thing to start your future off in the correct way. Or it could be the flip side of the coin. If we have a market crash like we did in 2007, 2008, there's a lot of people that lost everything. I mean, they put so much money into their home and they lost everything and had to file bankruptcy. But on the flip side of the coin, there's a lot of people that sold in 2004 that invested maybe in the mid to late 90s, and they made a killing. I mean, they've done really well, and now their families are set. So make no mistake about it, real estate is like gambling, and for every pro there is a con, just like anything else. The con, like we talked about, is it obviously over time can lose money. I know a lot of people. I purchased my first home in 2004. In 2004, I bought a house up in Merritt Island, Florida, and I bought it for a pretty decent price because it was the peak of the market. I tried to sell it in 2009, and I lost big time. I bought it at the peak of the market, and then I couldn't, when I sold it, I lost big time. On the flip side of the coin, I moved back to Denver, Colorado, and I purchased a foreclosure property in Denver, Colorado, and then after I sold it to move back out here to Florida, I made a killing on it. So real estate is like that investing. It is like gambling. Now, the main con is that you can never time the market. You know, you never know what the market is going to do. One day it could be fantastic, the next day it could be horrible. So, you know, the main con of buying your own home or purchasing your own home is that you can never truly know what the market is going to do, and there is a chance that you will lose money. So before we go any further, do me a favor. If you're finding value in this and you like what you're seeing, please do me a favor and think about subscribing to my channel. It's a great way for me to grow this small channel and get the information that I have out to the masses, and I appreciate you guys even considering it. So please, if you don't mind, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel, and let's share the love. Now, another pro of owning a home is the fact that your monthly payment is typically lower than it is when you rent. I just looked at rentals today, you know, and in my area out here in Stuart, Florida, you know, to get a decent sized home, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet or so, in a pretty decent neighborhood, you know, it's between $1,800 and $2,500. That's crazy. That is a lot of money. I keep thinking, you know, $2,200 to spend on rent is just absolutely, it's crazy to me. And it's crazy. On the flip side of the coin, you know, when you purchase a home or you have your own home, that same scenario is typically around $1,500 to $1,600 per month. So your monthly payment is going to be quite a bit lower if you purchase versus renting. Now, it depends on where you live. If you're in California, I'm sure, you know, owning a home, the payment is going to be way more than rent. But in most parts, typically the mortgage, your monthly payment is going to be less than what it would be to rent. And what I always suggest people to do this is like literally do your research. So I would call your lender. If you don't have a lender that you work with, get a hold of me. I have numerous lenders that I work with that are very great at what they do. But talk to your lender and get an idea. They do what's called a pre-qualification letter. A pre-qualification letter, it's done over the phone. It can be typically done in about 15 minutes. You give them what you make per year, what your monthly expenses are, and they can kind of give you an idea of what it is that you can afford, how much money you can afford or how much house you can afford, and then give you the monthly payment. Now, as you do that, find out what that caveat, find out what that level is, and then look at the rentals. Look at the rentals in the area and see what it is, and do an apples to apples comparison. Don't look at the real cheap rentals and don't look at the real expensive ones. Do it as if you were really going to rent something, what it would be, and just kind of weigh your options. And I think you'll see that there's a lot of different things that even out to make purchasing a home a little bit more appealing from a monthly payment standpoint than renting. Now, the con to this is the fact that in order to get your payments lower is that you have this initial outlay of cash. You know, sometimes lenders require as much as 20% down. Even if it's 3 to 5% down, there's also an awful lot of closing costs that are associated with buying a home. Typically, closing costs can range anywhere between 2 and 3%. So all that is cash that is coming out. Now, in markets past, when we've approached a seller to buy their house, we've asked for concessions. We've asked for the seller to pay $5,000 worth of their closing costs. Well, in today's market, that's never going to happen. You know, sellers are getting multiple offers. So it's one of those things where in order to get that monthly payment down to that $1,500, you've had to outlay quite a bit of cash to get it down. But once again, you're owning it and so forth. So as we've talked about this entire time on this entire video is that for every pro, there's a con, and you have to weigh out the pros and cons for your specific situation. And like I've said in day one, or the minute we started this video, is I do not think owning a home is right for everybody in their particular season. They need to do different things that make it worthwhile, and sometimes owning a home is not the best thing to do. Now, I've heard people say all the time as a con for owning a home is that they don't want to be locked in, and I totally get that. You know, you're locked into a 30-year mortgage, or, you know, if something happens or something changes, a job transfer, or you find the love of your life and you want to move in together, owning a home can throw kind of a dent in that, just because you have to make sure that the market is good in order to sell, to make a profit. And if the market isn't good and you find the love of your life and you sell it, you might take a loss. So you rely on market conditions in order to create this appreciation value and gain money. So being locked into a home can be somewhat scary, and definitely can be a con to owning a home. However, on the flip side of the coin, you know, if you do find the love of your life and you have made money, and you're getting ready to move in with him or her, or if you have a job transfer that transfers to a state that maybe has a little bit less money, and you sell your house and you had appreciation, then you'll be able to start off on the right foot wherever the next phase that you go. So when you own your own home, you know, you're locked into it and you're kind of tied down to that situation. So to recap, there's a lot of pros that we have here, you know, with owning a home. You know, it's your own, it's a pride of ownership. You can do with it what you want. It's an investment. It can be used to start your family off on the right foot. And on the flip side, the main con is that there's a lot of risk associated with it, because you do own it, and there's a lot of times where you're going to have, you know, that initial cash outlay, or make sure that you have reserves in case something happens. And like I said, owning a home isn't for anybody, and I strongly suggest that, you know, you kind of look at all your pros and cons. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Homeowners, I'm talking to you. If you own your own home, tell us the pros and cons of what you see in it. See what you see in it down below. Renters, if you're renting right now, let us know why. Let us know what you think the pros and cons are, and, you know, let's have a conversation about it. Let's be nice. Let's have a conversation about it and get everything going. But as always, my name is Chris Thiel. I'm a local real estate agent out here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here's a couple more videos for you guys to keep the love going, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye, y'all.